You're listening to 5-episode thriller. Dare to like this episode and subscribe if you hunger for more. Now, let the shadows begin to stir. Episode 5, Price of Memory. The jungle opened like a wound. Tanya's feet were bleeding. She hadn't slept. Her thoughts came in jagged, looping fragments. Liz's sewn mouth, Clara's missing face, Mira's scream in the chapel that hadn't existed. She clutched the compass tighter. It spun uselessly now. No direction, no north, just a constant circling. A cruel echo of her thoughts. She stumbled into a new clearing. At the center stood a stone table. Moss-covered, ancient, carved with runes that felt older than language. 5 goblets sat evenly spaced. The same ones from Harper's arrival ceremony. But now only 2 were filled. One with red, one with black. Tanya approached. Her throat ached with thirst. She stopped herself just in time. The goblets smelled like memory and grief. A whisper curled through the trees. Drink and forget, or bleed and remember. She turned, and Mira stood behind her, alive, eyes wild. I thought you were dead, Tanya whispered. I thought you left me, Mira said. Tears ran down her cheeks, and Tanya realized she had mud on her fingers, red like dried clay. They looked down. Mira's arms had names carved into them. Not deep, but long-healed scars. Clara, Liz, Harper, and beneath them a new one, Tanya. You did this? Tanya asked, horrified. Mira didn't answer. She walked to the goblets. I remember now, she said. It wasn't just Harper who lied to the headmistress. I did too. Tanya took a step back. You said you weren't even there the night of the vandalism. I wasn't, Mira said, but I wanted Clara gone. I was jealous. She got into Oxford. I was waitlisted. You told the board she had a history of self-harm, Tanya said slowly. You said she confessed to you. Mira met her gaze. She never did. They stood in silence. Then Mira picked up the black goblet and drank. The trees screamed. Not wind, not animal. Screamed. Mira dropped to her knees, retching. Shadows poured from her mouth, thick as oil, writhing like snakes before slithering into the ground. When she looked up again, her eyes were no longer brown. They were white. Pure white. Tanya knelt beside her. Are you? I remember everything, Mira whispered. Everything we forgot. What did we forget? That Clara didn't die in the chapel, Mira said. Tanya froze. She made it home. She wrote letters, pages, sent them to all of us, pleading, explaining, begging for us to remember her as more than a mistake. Tanya clutched her chest. I never got anything, she whispered. Yes, you did, Mira said. You just didn't read it. You never opened the envelope. You threw it into the bin behind the theater building with your own hands. The memory exploded into her mind like a broken dam. The heavy envelope, Clara's handwriting, her own voice saying, I can't read this right now. And then the sound of it hitting the trash. Tanya screamed. The ground cracked open. A chasm split through the clearing, revealing an underground chamber lit by torches. Steps spiraled down in uneven stone. The goblets were gone. Only one thing remained at the edge of the chasm, a black veil. And beneath it, a crown of thorns. Mira reached for the veil, but Tanya stopped her. Don't. I'll do it. Mira shook her head. It has to be both of us. They put it on together. The moment the veil touched their faces, they were transported. Not through space, but memory. They stood in St. Bernardine's again. 16. Rain outside. The dorm room warm. Clara on the bed, cross-legged, reading aloud from a poetry book. Harper giggling. Liz pretending to listen. Tanya and Mira at the desk, making a mixed CD. The night before it all went wrong. Before betrayal. Before blood. Tanya couldn't breathe. I forgot this, she whispered. Mira nodded. So did I. They watched themselves laugh. Innocent. Silly. Stupid. They watched Clara hug them both goodnight. Watched her say, this has been the best week of my life. Thank you for being my friends. Then the memory cracked. Shadows rushed in. The dorm room splintered into ash. Tanya and Mira fell through blackness and landed in a cave. Real this time. Not a memory. Bones lined the walls. Dozens. Not just Clara's. Names etched into skulls. Lillian, Marina, Fiza, Delphine. Other girls, other islands, other circles. Tanya staggered. Mira whispered, this island isn't just about us. It's always been here, waiting for guilt, feeding on memory. Who made it? I think we did. They walked deeper. At the far wall of the cave stood a stone door, a phrase carved into it. To leave, one must be left behind. They turned to each other. No, Tanya said. We're not doing this again. We're not sacrificing someone to save the other. Mira smiled, bitter. I don't think we get to choose. Then the ground shuddered, and the door creaked open. Only one of them could pass. Behind them, the bones began to rise. Not walk, just levitate. One skull clattered forward, Clara's. It looked at them and spoke, "You remember now? So choose." Tanya took a step forward. "I'll stay," she said. "I lied to Clara. I buried her words." Mira shook her head. "No. I drank the goblet. I summoned the truth. It has to be me." "I'm not leaving you," Tanya said. "You already did," Mira whispered. "The moment you chose silence over friendship." The cave screamed. The crown on Tanya's head burned. Mira turned and ran through the door. Tanya didn't follow. The door slammed shut. Silence. Only the sound of bones returning to stillness. Tanya collapsed, alone. But something had changed. She no longer felt afraid. Because this time, she remembered. And memory, real memory, was power. Harper stood on the edge of the jetty, the sea folding itself against the rocks in long, hissing sighs. It had been days. Or minutes. Time no longer passed as it once had. The sun sat pinned to the sky like a fake spotlight. Her skin no longer burned. Her body had stopped sweating. The veil was gone. So were the others. She could feel them in the water, in the trees, in the salt of her tears. Tanya, Mira, Liz. Even Clara. Especially Clara. The island had bled them all dry, and now it wanted to feed again. She sat on the jetty, dangling her legs over the side, watching her toes just graze the silver-tipped water. A single object floated near her feet, a school tie, Clara's. She reached for it, and the world split open. It wasn't a crack, not a shatter. It was a folding, as if the island were a piece of paper being turned back to the beginning. Trees curled, waves receded. The villa reversed its rot, becoming pristine again, freshly painted white, glass clean with bloodless floors. Harper stood now in her bridal robe. The satin shimmered under a sky that had reset itself. Footsteps behind her. Tanya. Alive, or something like it. Not bloodied or bruised, not exhausted. Her eyes calm. Her hair pinned back like it had been at St. Bernardine's graduation. Mira stepped up next. Still. Silent. Their hands met hers. Then Liz. Whole. And then Clara. Clara, wearing the same yellow sundress from the picture on the beach. The one before everything broke. Her smile small, sad, but not angry. Harper choked on the sight of her. "I tried," she whispered, "to fix it, to carry the weight." "You didn't have to fix it," Clara said. Her voice sounded like the ocean at dawn. "You just had to remember." "I hurt you," Harper said. Clara nodded. "But only because you were hurting, too." Harper looked at the others. "Are we dead?" Tanya touched her shoulder. "No, not yet." "Then what is this place?" Clara stepped closer. A house built from guilt. A mirror carved from silence. A circle of grief. And now it's full. The ground rumbled softly, but the girls stood firm. The sea rose up, but not in fury, in song. A deep, humming lullaby, ancient and beautiful, wove through the air. Notes Harper didn't recognize but understood. The drowned women sang, not just Clara, but others. Dozens. Hundreds. Women forgotten, silenced, buried under guilt, erased by whispers and rewritten histories. Now they rose, one by one, from the sea, from the soil, from memory. Their bodies luminous, hair trailing behind them like underwater ribbons, voices weaving a symphony of sorrow and survival. The island had become a stage, a reckoning. Clara turned to Harper. "You carried our story to the end. That's enough." Harper whispered, "I thought survival meant getting away." "It means remembering who didn't," Clara said. Then she took Harper's hand and turned to the others. "Now, listen." The music surged, and the sky split, this time not with darkness, but with dawn. A real sun. A real sky. The veil lifted from the island. You could feel it, like something holding its breath for centuries finally exhaled. The beach shimmered. The bones sank into the sea, leaving no trace. The chapel crumbled, not into ruin, but into forgetting. The final note of the lullaby held a piece so sharp it made Harper cry. When she opened her eyes, she was back at Heathrow. Rain fell softly on the glass windows. She sat in the departure lounge, her bridal robe now a gray coat, her sandals now boots. A flight was boarding. Flight 709 to Antigua. The same flight, but this time no bridesmaids in sight. Only a man at her side. Ethan. "Harper?" he said. Boarding started. She blinked at him. "Did we cancel the hen do?" she asked. He frowned. "You said you wanted something low-key, just the two of us. You didn't want a big trip." Harper looked at her hands. No ring, not yet, just the mark where it would be. The circle hadn't ended. It had simply been rewritten. "Yeah," she said. "That sounds right." They walked to the gate. As they passed a newsstand, a headline caught her eye. Remains found on Nicobar Island linked to disappearance of boarding school girls, 2005. Below it, a photo. 5 girls in school uniforms, smiling. One face blurred. She touched the page. Not with horror, but gratitude. Memory, once buried, had risen. At last. She stepped onto the plane. A lullaby lingered in her ears, low, humming, eternal. And somewhere, far below, the sea was quiet again. For now. Series complete. If this tale left you uneasy, give it a like. Share it with someone brave enough to listen alone. And subscribe to 5-episode Thriller. Your next nightmare is creeping closer.